this is you, right? So you've probably never had the time to read any of these, but we go all over the place with some of them.
No, I've read a couple.
Have you? Yeah. I mostly do oldies, so you're the youngest by a long way.
And I'm not that young anymore.
No, mostly people who have pioneered, like, cleared farmland and that sort of stuff. But this is I don't even know where I want to go with it. It's just a story. So always start at the start. What is your background? Where did you start? You're Rocky Gully.
So, I'm one of eldest of four boys.
Yeah.
My dad was a dairy farmer from Serpentine, or they're big dairy farming family in Serpentine and landowners. And my dad was one of five boys, and he was the middle. And my granddad bought a war settlement block in Rocky Gully, and he dragged what wasn't my mum, obviously, because I wasn't born, but he dragged those two at the age of, they got married at 20, and they dragged mum out of the city. She's a city girl, and moved to Rocky Gully and had me, or she was pregnant when they moved there in 78. We didn't get power or water out there till 1982, which is hard to believe because, there was IBM computers in America then, and we didn't have power or water for 4 years, from 78 to 82.
So what was, generator?
The old school generator ran at night and candles.
Yep, 240 generator or?
Yeah, the old diesel Perkins, I reckon, or Cummings or whatever they were, those old thumpers they used to call them.
We had a 32-volt generator when I was a kid.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah. Couldn't run 5 lights.
No, couldn't. So it was only ran at night, the kitchen light, pretty much.
Yeah.
That was probably set us up as for a bit of a can-do attitude with life, living out there, because I think we still hold the record. All of us boys went to Mount Barker High School, went to Rocky Gully Primary, which was a thriving community. 110 kids at the school.
Wow.
11 years later, after my youngest brother graduated, it closed, just through the trees and that, and how farming's gone, it is what it is. But 82 k's a day one way to high school and back. So we did 164 k's a day, all four of us. So we get on the bus at 10 to 7 because of all the pickups for 5 years, and mum and dad made us all finish year 12. So we get on the bus at 10 to 7 and get home at 10 past 5. So I suppose your work ethic just by nature becomes pretty reasonable. And of course the lack of rules and laws, not parenting, but like when you're living on the fringes of society like Rocky Gully, you can do a lot of things probably before you should be doing that.
So back in 78, the farm that they took over, was it cleared or not?
It was, so the one my granddad bought, a lot of war settlers walked off.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't cut out for what they'd gotten into. So Harris's was the name of the people. I think they'd pretty much walked off, and that was cleared, partially cleared. And then the farm across the road that we bought, we cleared, or my dad and granddad cleared, but my granddad never lived down there. They kept the farming in Serpentine, which we still only got rid of a couple of years ago.
Right.
So, which took us to about, what were they, about 3,000 acres for Rocky Gully. Was a pretty biggish farm.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of big trees, which in full circle I'm sort of back with again in a different variation.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
A lot of big trees. There's not a lot of arable land.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it's bush.
Yeah.
But they couldn't clear because the trees are too big. Basically.
How were they clearing those?
Ball, chaining.
Yeah.
Yep. And so our farm is the border of the Plantagenet and Cranbrook Shire. One half is in Plantagenet, one half is in the Cranbrook Shire.
Yep.
Our road is the Shire.
And so pastoral farming, sheep farming?
Sheep and cattle. We were some of the first to bring cattle there because, or not first, but we're of cattle blood. So,
yes.
And it is really cattle country.
Yeah. You didn't attempt dairy down there, did you?
No. Just beef cattle.
Yep. So that's Rocky. So your farm was sold, or so?
So we farmed there until 2018, which
right.
so My dad passed away at 52 from cancer 11 years ago, and my youngest brothers both had gone out and got trades and lived in the city and had come home when Dad got sick. And me and my other brother were older with family, so we had careers. And they didn't struggle, I suppose struggled on emotionally, because Dad was a pretty big part of our lives. Huge influence, incredible influence on all our lives. So they struggled along emotionally. The farm was going well, but we actually had to sell it to get Mum off the farm, because there's not a lot for a 54-year-old woman in Rocky Gully with no community. So as hard as that was, and it was another thing. We sold it, and what was that? 5-6 years later, or 5 years down the track now, and Mum's living she's really happy in Albany, and got a couple of acres out of Little Grove, and it was as hard as it was, like most hard decisions, it was the best one. Yeah. So pull a splinter out,
Yeah. Tell us, go back to your dad, and that you said very strong influence in your lives for all of you. Tell us about that, if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy. Yeah. He was just a square peg in a round hole, as you can imagine, with Rocky Gully in the 70s. Fairly liberal and fairly right and fairly racist and Dad came in from a family of private school boys, basically, that were sort of socialists and well read and Gough Whitlam supporters, and my granddad let Indigenous people on tents on the farm when that was all happening in the 60s and 70s, and work, and so we came from a really sort of well read. His oldest brother's head of front, he was head editor of front Fremantle Arts Centre Press for 30 or 40 years, and then curator for the Museum of Western Australia.
Oh, right.
So fairly, really square peg round hole stuff. So we got both sides of it. We got the for people that will listen or read or whatever, we got what Rocky Gully gives you, and what some sort of lefty socialist gives you. So whether that's well balanced or just strung out, I'm not sure, but we got both sides of the coin, and we chose which side we probably sit in the grey that is it all. So in various times, if I'm honest. So as far as Dad, he was a good footballer, played a lot of footy, handed that on to us, and probably not the good footballer part for me, but he handed on the passion for sport and community, and was a real giver. And he just he gave us some rules to live by, particularly just before he died, that I think are really important. One of them was bite off more than you can chew like fuck. He said leave everything a tiny bit better than when you found it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. And the big one, which I think's great, is don't get caught in an argument with a fuckwit, but I'll try and say idiot.
Yeah.
Because if someone's watching, no one knows who the idiot is.
Yeah.
So there's a few of them that we sort of live by, and me and all my brothers, and they've served us well, I reckon.
Yeah.
Just a really bit mental. He probably suffered bit of, like all those guys, undiagnosed spectrum-ish somewhere. So depression a little bit and all sorts of different things. But all those guys of that age did, because they had hard upbringings with hard parents, and and they're private school boys. So but huge influence on the three of us boys. On the four of us, me, myself, and my three brothers.
And so how has that flowed through since then to each of you, or to you?
Oh, to each of probably. Good question. But probably flowed through in regard that what we got here? Probably flowed through in just work ethic. Taking and taking people on their merits, basically, and just don't disregard someone until you've disregarded them. Like make sure they're
Yeah. All right, cool. Do you need to go and sort that?
Yes, I do.
All right, that's good.
Give us 2 seconds.
Yep.
We'll see how close he is, Matty. Oh, have.
Yeah.
Until you've made your own judgment of whether they're a fucking idiot or not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a recording.
It is.
No, it's good. It's important.
It is,
stuff.
yeah.
Oh, it is. It really is.
So we were talking about just the lessons from your younger days and how they've impacted you now. Let's go into business then, I guess. So what was your career, or what was your trade when you first?
So it's interesting. I left school with just a certificate in horticulture. I studied the horticulture and then went into the wine industry and So we Jen and I were high school sweethearts and moved over to work for Rob Quimby. Just out of school, and we wanted to get out and move away and be ourselves for a bit, and we went over to the West Coast and worked for a guy by the name of Neil Delroy, who's pretty well known within that industry, and he taught me a shitload about business because of my socialist upbringing, I guess. Money didn't have much of a value, which is no good when you're in business, but he taught me that other ledger and the importance of that over the 7-8 years we were there. And again, that whole bite off more than you chew attitude came through, because just by pure circumstance I was working for him, and the vineyard manager in Willie Abrupt, right next door to Vas Felix, actually, while I was working there as a vineyard hand, he had a breakdown, and Neil said at 20, I think I was 19, 20 maybe, said, "Do you want to run it?" And I just went, "Oh yeah, righto," like I do, yep. And then it's probably my biggest hamstring, or maybe the opposite to that too, is I'll go, yeah, and then work out a way to do it after that. I went, yeah, righto. And managed a vineyard in the centre of Margaret River for 6 years, maybe 5 or 6 years. And that taught me a lot. At some stages we had 70 employees, like itinerant, pruning and picking. And so as a young guy, trying to balance that respect and not being mates with them, because they're all doing what I would love to be doing, travelling and drinking piss. And I don't know whether I ever got that balance right. I probably did and didn't. I never got fired, so but I'm not in the industry, so probably somewhere in between. I reckon it probably cooked me a little bit because I was young. But Jen and I then, we'd had enough of that. I'd grown up in agriculture and had enough of that.
Cooked in what way? You mean tired? Just ran out of juice? Or,
no, I didn't. I've never run out of juice in my life.
No.
Ever.
I've never.
I've never done that. I'd had enough of agriculture. That's all I'd known. I'd grown up on a farm. I went into viticulture. I was still on a farm. I wanted to try something different to see if I was...
Right.
And I'd always loved timber and all that. We sort of wanted to... We knew Dad was sick. We wanted to come home because we were thinking about having a family. I was in my mid to late 20s. So we decided to move back to Albany, and I did a mature age carpentry apprenticeship. I think I was 25, 26.
Right.
Finished that when I was, 27, 28, somewhere around that. Had our first kid our first child when I was in my last year. So money was, people were like, "What are you doing, mate? You had a house and vineyard industry and this and that. You're living in Margaret River. And now you're bloody broke and you've got a child and you're an apprentice carpenter, and at 27, your brain doesn't work properly." So it was really good for fitness. I'm a guy that always struggle. I love eating and that, and I always struggle. I've got to watch myself, otherwise I'll be the side of the house. So, and I like being fit and active. Yeah. And I reckon being fit and active is also an anxiety coping mechanism. I just work myself to a bone, so I don't. So whether that's right or wrong, but you just push it all down because you're too tired to worry about it. It's not the right mechanism, but it's my way of working it. Because I think it's something we all suffer from time to time. Is that all that stuff? The pressures of the new age world. So, did that, and then came here, apprentice carpenter. It was really nice just to work, just to work and not have any of that hierarchical stuff. It was just a chippy. It was a carpenter, and I loved it. Got back into playing footy after many years at 27, fit, healthy. Did that for 12 years, I guess.
Yeah, right.
And then...
so in working for...
Myself. As soon as I did
right.
I was a subcontractor to Greg
Yep.
Leader Homes and
Yep.
a couple others and his only team and then got a team of blokes, and I think I'm on, at the moment as we stand, probably on my 8th apprentice probably.
Wow.
Always trained people, always found that having youth around you keeps you young, whether it be kids or apprentices. And always found that if you choose wisely, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I've sort of known all my apprentices' parents.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's calculated, in that regard.
Yeah.
And they're all doing well.
Yeah.
I think most of them, all bar 2 of them, are still in the industry.
Yep. That's interesting what you say about know their parents.
Yeah.
So what are you picking up from that? Just values or something?
Yeah,
Is that,
just that. Look, I think that goes full circle to what we were talking about before, Brendan. Like, as far as once you get to know someone, be your own judge of them and listen to other outside noise, but be your own judge and trust. If your instincts and your gut served you well in the past, why not keep continuing with that? Like, if you can read people, and as Brendan knows, I'm a talker, but people don't think I'm a listener, but I'll do listening because you need to. I don't think you can read people without listening.
Yeah.
So, and watching.
Yeah.
Watching.
Listen.
Just watch how they operate. Which in itself is tiring. So.
And because if that many apprentices over that period of time, it must be tough as well at times. Do they test you? What about employing young people is exciting?
What's exciting is you can mould them. They're so impressionable. Like, if you know what I mean. You want them to be able to be emotionally free, but you want them to be hard, and you want them to be all these things. And if you can get 20 or 30% of it across, on top of what you've already picked out because of their genetics and that nature versus nurture. If you can add a little bit to that, and I tell them everything I say is fucking, most of what I say, you're going to go fucking nuts. Even if you take 2% of it, you're going to be better.
Yeah.
So that's what I find exciting, and that's it, just seeing them grow and be their own version of what you're trying to.
All right. So let's digress completely to sport then. And
same
coaching.
rules apply.
Yeah.
We've gone full circle, and that same rules apply.
And so, what about? So, is that the reason that you coached that, or is that just natural, just because you played footy that you wanted to stay involved?
I've got 3 boys, so it's a good connection. It's something we share, and it's important to share something, I reckon, with your kids. And we share footy.
Yeah.
They think I'm mental because I'm probably, if I was born in the 2000s, Mum always says.
How do you do?
Mum always says, I've got 4 sons and 3 of them have been medicated from time to time, and you're the only one that should have been the whole time. And I reckon it took me into my 20s to learn how to harness it.
Yeah.
Whether it's whatever it is, it's I don't know.
So do you acknowledge it as a thing that, like, do you understand that you have an energy that's not normal?
Yeah, because Jen, my wife, as my wife will be like sometimes, mate, I love you to bits, Rogan, but you need to just be away from us for just a little bit. Not like a week or something, but just can you go and mow the lawn or do something out there? Because I do. I probably was worse 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I probably have learned to channel it a bit.
So how?
Probably loading myself up.
Yeah. Okay.
Loading myself up. And I reckon, and as Brendan would probably know with this business, I know we're dropping forward and we'll drop back, but I've loaded myself up probably emotionally and physically and mentally more than ever with this, and I probably found my limit, probably with age. I've come out the other end and working out where that sits now, and I really think we have, and we've got a few other bits and pieces in place. But I reckon it's always important to find your limit with anything and then
Yeah.
come back from that a little bit.
Yeah.
And I reckon I did that with this.
Yeah.
So I know I've jumped forward, but that's probably what I've always probably been trying to find, that limit,
Yeah.
and hadn't ever.
Yeah. All right. So tell us. So winding back just a bit.
Sorry,
then.
I did go
No.
forward.
That's all right. That's how it works. What got you into Suggs, into this business?
We were approached. Yeah, simple as that. And we sat on it for a year. Mark and Barb, wonderful humans, ran a business, thankfully, for 25 years that had a name that was at the point of their game. So and they'd literally, I think, just had enough. I can't imagine. Well, my track record shows I only stick at things for about 10 years. So, so I can't imagine 25 years in anything, you know.
So why did you sit on it for a year before you pulled the trigger?
I was getting my builder's registration, and the building game. If we rewind, prior to COVID, and with what's happened with economically and the price rises and building costs, if we take ourselves back there, the building game was still quite a lucrative and probably well regarded industry to a degree. A little bit of prestige about it. Obviously, that's all been a bit tarnished with the last 12 months, 4 months, incredibly.
Places falling over. Yep.
And at the end of the day, it was probably the actual real thing, if I'm honest, is I've started to work out of whether it's a $1 million deal or a quadrillion dollar deal or it's a $1 deal. You can run the numbers however you want and get other people too and advice, but at the end of the day, I'm starting to work out those decisions just come to two people going, should we give it a crack? Fuck it. Yeah, all right. And that's what happened in the end. This pointy end of furniture and hardwood and timber's probably where my heart lied within that industry, construction industry anyway.
Yep.
So, and my body was falling apart.
Yep.
I couldn't keep climbing around on roofs. I'd talk about limits. I definitely hadn't hit a mental or emotional limit, but I definitely hit a physical one.
Yeah. Right. How old are you?
I'm 44 now.
Jesus, you are old. I didn't realise.
Yeah, mate. Bloody oath. I'm 45 actually soon. Yeah, bloody oath I am. So, what do we be?
So it doesn't
4
matter.
years. So I was 39.
Yeah.
And I looked at my peers in the industry still running around being subcontractors and thought, ooh, my days are numbered.
Yep. That's one of the things about the industry is a lot of people don't recognise that or can't see that they could possibly do anything
Or
else.
don't have a way out.
Yeah,
Or maybe,
that's it.
and that's the other thing. I was lucky enough to have a way, to be presented with a way out.
Yes.
If I'm honest.
Yep.
Like, and you know, you can. Those guy, and they talk about advice and learning and taking stuff on board. A guy that I take a lot, because Dad's not here. A guy I take a lot of advice off. Still, a guy that was a friend of my dad's actually, and then they were apart for years. He said to me, most people in their life. Thanks, Matty. See you, mate. Most people in their life get presented with one, if they're lucky, two life-changing opportunities. And you can go left or right. You know, the old matrix, blue pill, red pill, or green pill, or whatever it is. And you can choose to or not to.
Yeah.
And so that sort of stuff sticks with you too.
Yep.
And it's that old adage of, fuck it, yeah, righto, then we'll work it out.
Yep. So that thing about sitting on it for a year, I guess it was the builder's registration that held you back. But it's not like you to take that amount of time to think about it, or is it actually you? Because you seem very impulsive.
I'm massively impulsive, incredibly impulsive. That's probably more why I think we're fairly successful as a family unit, not so much in business. We're still working on that, I guess. Well, I think we'll always work on that. But as a family unit, is my better half, Jen, is such a realist, and so, as you would know, Brendan, so level-headed, and she's actually the real brains. I think a perfect partnership in our regard, where I've got one guy shooting for the stars and another guy going, well, that's great, but we can do that star and that star, not all 20 of them.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, you talk about running numbers and that, and Jen's really good in that regard, and I think I would either be, without her, I'd either be homeless or Elon Musk, and probably homeless. So if I'm honest, if I'm deadly honest, she's so important to that, to the whole, to our family, to everything.
Yeah. And she's obviously very involved in the business.
Incredibly involved in the business, and again, probably does, or not probably, does all of the... I mean, she should be doing this, in all honesty, because she's you know, talk about me with energy and all that sort of stuff. It doesn't actually mean anything without the hard work and the hard decisions that she has to put up with daily, the end of month accounts, and all of the financials of this business is ran through Jen, and it's a what's the word for it? Faceless job, maybe. It's thankless. It's a thankless job, but that's way more important. Well, just as important, because you've got to have product, but I can't say enough about how probably just outside of business, more importantly, she's such a leveler. Yeah. Leveler, and I can only imagine fucking to be a train wreck without her. I would be.
Often in a partnership like the one you're describing, she is the personality that has to worry about all the things as well. Correct. And you're just steaming ahead.
Don't worry, it'll be fine. Yeah, we'll work it out. Yeah. And it's
how does that go? Do you butt heads much?
Oh, totally. But given the fact that we're not millionaires or we're not broke, there's a compromise. Yeah. Proof's in the pudding. Yeah. And we've got 3 kids that are fairly well adjusted, knock on wood, like that we're not through the woods. But so there's a compromise, and I think we push each other in the right ways more than the wrong. And we still, dare I say it, I know it's on record, but we still actually really love each other's company and enjoy each other.
Yeah, that's really good.
So, and that's just something, it's something my mum and dad had, and it's something Jen's mum and dad has had and has got stronger as they've got older too. So that we sort of wear that as outside of everything else, wear that as a badge of honour, internally with our family.
Yep. All right. When you bought Suggs, how many years are you in now?
I reckon 4, Brendan.
4 years in. So, what were some of the surprises? What did you not expect? Is there anything that you went, oh my God, I just did not see that coming, or whatever?
I'm not built for indoors. That's probably been the hardest thing.
Right.
I'm not built for a close environment, so I've had to really work on that. Institutionalised, is that a way to put it? Factory environment? I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm not sure. It's something I've seen the merit in. Mm. It's something but it's taken me years. It's something I've really seen the merit in. It's been hard. It has been hard. We were a business that had quietened off in regard to where the building industry was at, and a business that we probably, to make a living out of, we had to get up and going again. Yeah. Through no one's fault, just through how it was.
Yeah.
So that in itself was time consuming, and probably the hardest thing has been the balance of having a young family and working with your partner, and like I said before, and having another, what have we got? 7 employees here. So another 7 kids on top of the 3 I've got. Yeah. Not kids, but do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like people that are emotionally attached to you, because I pride myself on that.
Yeah. Do you feel and understand your responsibility as an employer?
Oh, probably too much, in fact.
Yeah.
And that's where that socialist upbringing comes in.
Yeah. Yeah. So in what way? Do you feel like a father figure, or I shouldn't be putting words in your mouth?
Yeah.
Or
No,
like
not at all. I think so. I think people more and more are struggling to belong to something, and and it's a hard task to get a group of individuals to belong to something.
Yep.
And again, I think we're covering off sport too,
Yep.
easily. And as soon as you get... Well, look, my saying is in here, I said, if you promise me a fucking buy-in, I'll promise you success. I don't know what that looks like, but it'll be some. Whether you're a better emotional person, whether you can pay your bill on time, whether you bought a new car, whether you're just a happier work environment. You promise me a fucking buy-in to what I'm selling as a group,
Yep.
and I'll promise you some success.
Yep. And so you're talking about business and sport,
Look,
and,
just everything,
and life.
like full stop.
Yep.
Like you can't. That's a big fat balloon.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
And I'm probably a bit like that, like with those. I don't know. And it's,
So you're, and somehow you're driving that direction. Is that what? Cause
Totally.
If you get
Totally.
someone to come in on board with you,
then I don't have to push them as
let's-
hard.
yeah.
They're in.
yeah,
It's. Oh, look what he's selling. No, this is good. I want some of this.
yeah,
And I can be pretty prickly to let other people in close if they're not,
yeah. Okay.
which some people have found out.
Have you seen? So have you seen situations where people have just fallen by the wayside and you've just had to let them?
Oh yeah,
Go.
yeah, both in sport and business and extended family. Yeah, absolutely. You're like and unfortunately, the older I get, I reckon my wick's got a little bit shorter.
You grumpy old man.
Oh,
And you're only 44. Wait till you get to
I don't know.
my age.
Yeah, exactly. I told myself dealing with people all day and every day, I'd never get bitter, and I'm really that's my number one aim is never, because I see it in the guys I regard to take from business advice, and just not that they all are, but make sure that I just keep judging people on their own merits and not. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
That's for me. Don't let it all wear you down.
Yeah.
Which you got close in those first years of building this,
Yeah,
real close,
yeah,
incredibly.
Yeah.
But again, grit your teeth.
Yeah.
Have a person like Jen tell me, my wife again, say, mate, like I've said to you before, no one needs what we're selling. They just want it. You're not saving kids from cancer. You're not.
Yeah.
The actual importance level of what we do as a worldwide, as a bigger picture, is not.
Right. Okay.
It's great and it's creative and it does this and it's all of those things. And people really love our product, or I hope they do, and will continue to. But let's be honest. We're not in the Ukraine.
Yeah.
Where the sun's shining today and we're standing on a pack of timber.
All right. Tell us about timber. What is it about timber or wood that ignites you?
I think it's that thing. Like, it's definitely. It's all the subconscious feeling. It's a textural. This again. Maybe we're going back to that spectrumy ADHD stuff. I'm not sure, but it's that. I go out and pick up timber from a mill out the back of where I'm from Rocky Gully, and sometimes I'll go and see Dad at the cemetery too. But I'll use that and drive. I think you've talked about this, Brendan, too. Driving, it's just wonderful. You can think, you can listen to a podcast if you need to, or just nothing, and just think and look at everything bar the road. Unfortunately, as far as what's he doing in that paddock, and pretending I'm a farmer, and then a couple of times I'll just pull over on one of because we're right out in the middle of nowhere, and just go and sit in the bush or walk around in the bush for a bit, 10 minutes. And I think that, and being surrounded with what we're surrounded with right now, I think there's. I don't know.
So it's not just
natural.
the product; it's also where it's come from, or something. That's what
Yeah,
it feels
well, it's
like.
the feeling. It's the feeling. It's natural. It's like none of this stuff in this room, aside from the bit we're standing at, actually we've brought in, but the rest of it's not treated. It's
raw.
It's been cut down, and it's raw, and it's going to be turned into something that someone will value for a long time, and it's all got a story.
Yeah.
It's from somewhere. There's no factory of smoke billowing out like on a conveyor belt making this. I think maybe, I don't know. Is that a good answer?
Yeah.
Or not?
So no, that's good. So it's textural and it's all.
Of course, it's visual and all that, but
yeah.
that's I'm not big on the like. That's the answer that's we know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Oh, of course, that TV cabinet's beautiful. Well, fuck, we can see it. We all know it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But there's more to it than that because
Yep.
Hungry Jack's looks beautiful on telly too. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't. You know what I mean? There's got to be. Put it this way: when people go and buy timber windows for their house, we're generally not pricing or quoting against an aluminium window.
No.
People either want it or they don't.
That's right.
And there's a reason generally for that.
Yeah.
And whatever their reason is, could be different from mine, but it's valid for those for the customer and for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. It's you talk about the story of timber, and do you know what came to my mind? The vibe out of the castle. You know,
Oh yeah.
It's just the vibe.
You're correct. It is. It
You
is.
can't explain it.
Well, you can't.
Yeah.
And I've talked to you about it before. You see in restaurants when they do have nice tables, timber tables, or somewhere where bars, the old people go, oh, I've gone into this old pub up in Nibing, or where before it is what it is now, or wherever, a country pub.
Yeah.
And if you actually watch, and they walk away and they say, oh, you should see the bar and the lining and have you ever been in the XYZ pub? Oh, the bar, and you'd love Rogan, you got to go, you'd love it. But 9 times out of 10, no one's actually standing there having a beer looking at the bar. Yeah. They're standing there talking and their hands are rubbing the edge or the underneath, or their hands are feeling the defects and the divots. Yeah. So it's what they're actually 9 times out of 10, I don't want to put words into people's mouths or think I know any more or less, but what they're feeling is the experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not the actual, geez, that was a beautiful bar, because they wouldn't have looked at it.
Yeah.
They would have talked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the other senses that are doing the work. Same as at a restaurant when people are talking and they're doing this, hands on the table. And so that's what I think.
Yeah.
And
agree.
Yeah, I think it's a...
So then recycled is...
Well,
tell us about that.
Well,
I mean, it's...
It amplifies the story.
Yep.
Full stop.
Yep.
Well, not full stop. It's that, and the other side of the ledger is with the native logging and the rest of it and everything that's going on in that regard.
Yep.
Is we're going to be smarter with our timber use because, it is it's going to become a finite.
Yeah. So is
resource.
it sustainable industry or not?
As it stood, the research I've done, well, see, it's a hard one, Brendan, because any discussion I have about it, people listen to it from my corner because, he's in it. Of course he's going to say this and that.
Yeah.
Because it's the live export thing. It's all of those things. So I don't... Unfortunately, my opinion is never going to come from a neutral environment, so it's a hard discussion to have. Yeah. But in saying that, a guy by the name of David Wettenhall, who was the head of FPC for a long time, that's one thing about this business. I love the old guys that come in that know so much more about timber than me. And just listen. Yeah. Talking about boats and whether a tree in the northern hemisphere, even the Vikings used to go and look for a tree that grows left or right for each side of the boat.
Oh,
yeah.
So and then you start driving along roads and you start looking at jarrah trees and the bark going left and right.
Yeah.
Wow.
And how they bent timber and steamed it. And so all those old guys in that regard. But getting back to David, at the day that announcement was made for obviously the political green vote, which is fine. You need to, Marky McGowan. And I'm a socialist, so we can go right back. So I'm a Gough Whitlam guy. I grew up with knowing that Mark McGowan, guys like of his ilk, and Bob Hawke and Paul Keating were the epitome of what it was to be. So, again, both sides of the ledger. But obviously that was a political announcement because at the day it was made, David Wettenhall showed me the figures and stuff. The current rate of logging, of native logging that day, at that rate it would take 400 years to get through their allocation.
Yeah.
Regrowth forest turns into old growth forest at 150.
Yeah.
So even if we doubled it, is my maths about right? It'd still take 200 odd years to get through. So Barana Forest, all the photos of Barana, down in Margaret River, down by Redgate Beach.
Yes.
That's a regrowth forest.
Yeah.
And that goes in pictures all over the world saying, look at our heritage forest. It's regrowth. They logged the shit out of it. So It's one of those things. Again, they're going to work out like Tasmania are just working out, because I think they're going back. They're just about to start doing. They're opening up their forests again after they were the first to lock them up.
Oh, yeah.
Then they've realised, well, hang on, it's really struggling to find another product to do what hardwood does.
Yeah.
In saying that, I do know we probably abuse some of it too. It does have to be our hardwood. Jarrah trees only grow here.
Yeah.
So
that's
do red
right.
gums, so do
Yeah.
wandoo.
Yeah.
So, like, we were probably a bit of, we had all this stuff, and we were probably a bit, I don't know, like, oh, well, it's here. Who cares?
And, yeah,
like,
and it's easy and...
we weren't treating it with enough respect.
No.
We're eating the head of the fish in the culinary industry.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
recycling everything else. Like, we're an industry that does have the building industry's probably got to come to the party. And we run parallel with that, but that's the honest truth.
Yeah.
We've got to start. That's full circle again, Brendan. But
Yeah.
the recycled timbers, we've just got to... It's beautiful timber.
Yep.
And there is all that, the carbon lockup and all that
Yes.
stuff, which
Yeah,
everyone
that's
knows.
right.
And you
Yeah.
can start spieling that,
Yeah.
people just eyes roll back in their heads and shut off. So, it's...
Yeah. But the thing with using timber in building or in furniture, it actually does store that.
I think it's a
carbon.
real
So,
thing.
Yeah.
But it's been stuffed down so
Yeah.
many people's
Yes.
throats that it's nearly counterproductive line now.
Yeah.
So, I think it's more... I think using recycled timbers, I think the emotional attachment, particularly in our region
Yeah.
with farmers, is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
If they're retiring, if they're moving, or not just particularly with anyone, if they've got something and they want to incorporate it into their new house or old house, or it's something to remember by, we're actually doing a ashes box at the moment for a friend of mine.
Oh, wow.
That's built out of his dad's sheep yards that his
Yeah.
dad cut,
Oh, wow.
and they're going to bury it on
Yeah.
the farm,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
on my desk at the moment.
That's
So stuff
crazy,
like
yeah.
that,
Yes.
Yeah.
you can wash that as many ways, but at the end
Yeah.
of the day, that's really meaningful to someone.
Yeah.
You're
And
not
you've
going
got
to get
to-
that with a hunk of steel, are you?
You know, and you've also got to dig in and be part of that.
Yeah.
And that's what we talk
Yeah.
about with my guys, and making them, like all the employees, being part of, buy in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because just like a footy team or whatever,
Yeah.
you don't know, you have one guy don't, and you've got one or two choices.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Do it, or
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. 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 And so your crew pretty much do buy into this
Took a while.
story pretty well.
took a while.
Yeah.
Took a while, because I don't know, it's not everyone's cup of tea how I go about things
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
That's not the right. Whether it's the right or wrong way, it's
Yeah.
my way, and I'll
Yeah.
stick to it.
Yeah.
Pretty pig-headed in that.
Yeah. Yeah, because you must wear them down after a while.
I do.
It would be exhausting being around you, I would imagine.
Ask Jen. Yeah. No, I do. But I reckon you said, how have you? One of your questions, Brendan, was how have you realised, or how have you adapted, or whatever with
Yeah.
the energy. I reckon that's one thing, the realisation too of
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
of going, I need to just be over here and just leave
Yeah.
those guys alone
Yes.
for a bit,
Yeah.
because his head's going to pop off. So I don't know. It's one of those things, isn't it? We've all got our positives, and
Oh,
what I
yeah,
mean?
for sure.
And pot kettle black stuff from you too,
Yeah,
Brendan.
yeah.
I would have thought so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I know that I was the other thing. I was going to the gym too, and the only guy that would be there, it didn't matter if I got there early or real early. The only guy that was there before me was you. So
Yeah, well, same deal. I'm too scared to stop, otherwise I won't start again.
yeah,
So,
it's one of those.
And it's the same thing. It's about suppressing whatever else is going on.
Correct.
Yeah,
You rest, you rust.
yeah,
And while we're all doing something that we enjoy and it has its ups and downs, why not keep going? Because
yeah,
that's the other thing. What's the alternative?
Yeah.
It's pretty shitty.
yeah,
Sit around and fuck all.
yeah.
Or die.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
and that's what I say, like, with the footy, going back to the sport thing too, like, if you don't give me, and I know this is so cliched, and we've talked a lot with cliches too, but they're cliches because they're true.
yeah,
And they can be corny, and they can be this, and they can be so many things. But I talk a lot about that with the juniors that I coach in the Shark 16s. if you can give me a reason not to give me everything, I don't believe in the give me 100% thing, because no one can.
Yeah.
Some can give 150, some can give 70, and that stops. Some give 20.
Yeah.
Give me everything you've got for 2 nights of training and an hour and a half on the Saturday or Sunday. Because what's your reason not to? If you come to me and go, oh, I've got leukemia, I'll go, yeah, good reason.
Yeah.
But if you come to me and go, the only other thing I'm ever going to hear is I can't be fucked.
Yeah.
Like, well, it doesn't matter what you tell me, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Unless it's you go, oh, look, something's died, or I've got a broken leg, or you know, unless it's valid.
Yeah.
The only other reason you can't, and again, this crosses over to this, the only other reason is you can't be bothered.
Yeah.
And that's, I can't cop that.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
So that
Ever,
attitude.
ever.
That's where the word is attitude. Isn't it?
Ever.
Yeah.
And don't sweat on the small thing. You know, like, mate, everyone's going through some stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to get into what you're doing, and it'll help that other thing
Yeah.
that might be this big or this big.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's very good. Did you have anything you wanted to?
I've
Any
just
questions
been-
of
it's-
inspiration? Yeah.
Oh, for the top of my head, it's been awesome chatting with you. So I've been listening, and it's been awesome.
I don't know
So-
whether it's right or wrong. It is just what it is, and
It
I've got.
is, yeah.
I'm 44, as Brendan found out today, so I've got to stick with that because leopard spots. I don't.
So have you got a filing cabinet full of little gems of quotes and things like that? Because you've just rolled out about 10 of them.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And it's corny. It's corny though.
It is, but it's not.
But
Yeah,
it's not.
correct.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them obviously got strong history, which is 3 pointers from your dad.
Yeah.
But there's obviously just these types of ones that just keep coming
Yeah, well,
around.
they just-
and they're all on the same theme as well, aren't they?
And they've got to be. And people, by nature, people love catchphrases.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you know what I mean? Like they stick. They stick. They're easy to remember in whatever regard or element you want to phrase that in. But that's the truth of it.
Yeah.
People don't want long-winded epilogues and the rest
Yeah.
of this. They want something, and particularly today's kids. 3 minutes, you're
Oh,
done.
Exactly.
You got a TikTok video, maybe 2, in a speech, and you're cooked.
Yeah.
So you got to get as many of these.
Yeah.
Something that rhymes, something that.
Yeah.
Because I wrote a lot, used to write a lot as a kid and stuff
Yeah,
like that. So
right.
something that rhymes, and I play music, so something that rhymes, something that
Yeah.
they can grab onto.
Yeah.
And even if they take one bit of it,
Yeah.
that's enough.
Yeah.
But if you fucking go on and on, like I probably have.
Yeah, you lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, Rogan.
Anyway,
As
Thank you
usual.
So much.
so grab that file, press delete, and throw your phone in the bin, and we've all had a good time.
It is still recording. Yeah.
Check this one. I've heard this before, but things that require zero talent: being on time, making an effort, high energy, having a positive attitude, being passionate, good body language, being coachable, doing a little bit extra, being prepared, strong work ethic. So you have zero.
I have
need zero talent,
and I have zero talent, and they're all.
Yeah.
Well, it's that thing. Like, if you don't have a trick, tenacity's your trick.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
that.
all that in
Yeah.
one sentence.
Yeah, it is, isn't
And
it?
I don't have a trick,
Yeah.
apart from gritting your teeth and hard work.
Beautiful. All right, we've taken an hour of your time.
No, it's
God
good.
knows
I
what you
enjoyed
would have
that.
achieved if we weren't taking it up. But it's been
Probably,
absolute
you've
pleasure.
saved 7 employees from their heads falling off. That's sort of Monday morning. I'm usually fairly full of energy by Monday.
Yeah, that's why we chose this.
Absolutely.
We thought
Yeah.
you would have had your toolbox meeting, and then you'd be just on.
Yeah.
You've got to get some photos.
Yeah,
Or
yeah. Where would we like
I don't know. I
to
just need a photo of you somewhere.
for the website, if that's all right?